Welcome to Drinks on Me, the podcast about the kind of things you talk about over a drink with a friend, or if you're very chatty and a little emotional, a drink with a coworker, or a very loose acquaintance, or a very disgruntled bartender. My guest this evening is Mike Themistocleos.
Bingo. 10 out of 10.
You're a short film producer, director of short films, and you also just started a new band called Scrapper. You guys just released a single called Heat. We are friends who met on Raya, which I don't think people have ever heard that sentence in their lives.
No, but it makes me feel cool saying
it. Does. We're the only ones. Why don't we start with the drink? This is a whiskey ginger. I use ginger beer, Irish whiskey. So I believe it's actually called an Irish mule as well.
Cheers. That is really good.
Yeah. I think the ginger beer was the right choice. Ginger ale is like, by the way, see the show notes for the full recipe. Ginger ale is too sweet.
I like ginger ale, but I wanted something a little more bitter.
Ginger ale also just reminds me of being sick as a child or baking sick as a child, which ginger I did sometimes.
Saltines.
Damn, I love saltines.
I called out of school once a week as a kid. I was happy to just watch Step by Step in Full House at 10 in the morning and not be in class. I saw you use Jameson, which is the Irish whiskey here. When I went to Ireland, I was ordering whiskey gingers constantly, and they recommended Redbreast. And they said, if you want to feel cool, order Redbreast whiskey when you order a whiskey ginger.
All right, so I got to book a flight to Ireland. Go. Remember that you said that, and then I'm good.
Yeah.
Why is this your drink of choice? What about it speaks to you?
I'm not a big drinker. I stick to mezcal and whiskey when I do drink, sometimes wine. It's very rare I make myself a drink. And yeah, Irish whiskey is just delicious, and it's always a safe bet to get it with ginger ale, but I do prefer it with ginger beer. I'm a fan of citrus too, so the lime juice is a nice touch. And the first time I had it, probably a college party.
Oh, that's a nice drink for a college party.
Honestly, all of our parties for the first year were just Blue Moon. So fuck Blue Moon. I hate it.
Disgusting.
We were 18 and there was one person who was 21 and would buy us alcohol. Our first real party in college, we were going to do a margarita movie night. And we sent this kid who was 21 to go get the alcohol. It was supposed to be, he was getting beers for people and like tequila and triple second. He came back with only the Blue Moon horchata flavor, a 48 pack of it, and Bud Light Limeritas. So I have a hatred for both of those things.
Before we get into the meat of the episode, I wanted to ask, why are you doing these things? Why did you start a band? Why are you in short film? Which is basically this very vague question of why are you doing art? But I'm curious.
Why art? I always had music around me growing up. My brother constantly played in pop punk bands. Long Island had a very big pop punk scene in the early 2000s. My least favorite genre. My parents loved the Beatles. My dad's god was Elvis, Frank Sinatra. So I knew I always loved music, and I really wanted to play music at a young age. I got a bass in high school. I got my first guitar when I graduated high school, and after that, I was always, doing bands. I had Fox Hollow.
Did you teach yourself?
I did. I took piano lessons for a month when I was 8, but I taught myself bass, and then I taught myself guitar.
How do you teach yourself? Is it that you just understand what sounds good, or did you go online, learn the chords from a YouTube video?
A little bit of both. I would watch my favorite guitarist play guitar, Alex Turner. I would kind of just pick it up from there. And then films, I always loved movies. We grew up kind of lower middle class, and my parents were always saving money. So every weekend we would go to one movie, and then we would sneak into as many movies as we can on the day. Saturdays, every week, we'd see 3 or 4 movies. And then I was entering college as an English and history double major. I am too stupid for that. And I think it was the week before I started school, and my mom was like, hey,
you're a little too stupid for that.
Yeah. She was much nicer about it. She was like, you should think about film. You love movies. You're always talking about movies. So yeah, I did 1 week of English and history double major, and then I switched to film.
So what you're saying is that you're calling film majors less smart than English and history majors.
Yes. Yeah. But also, fuck you if you're a film major and you're like, I'm smarter than a history major. Maybe, but no, you're not. Grow up.
Fuck you if you're a history major saying I'm smarter than a film major. I mean, you are. I was a history major, so.
Damn, fuck you.
Yeah,
What kind of history?
I did Cold War history.
Hell, that's the coolest history.
Mike, why'd you need the drink?
Yesterday was Mother's Day, and it's a grieving process. Part of the quote-unquote Dead Parent Club, 2-time member. President of the Dead Parent Club. You are also a member of the club, and I figured we can sit down and have a drink.
Cheers to the Dead Parent Club.
Cheers to the Dead Parent Club.
Yeah, Double member president, gold star situation with your two dead parents.
My roommate, he lost his dad when he was super young. He was 10. And right after my mom passed, my dad passed first, he said that he was always the person growing up with the dead parent, and I beat him out on getting both of them.
Viciously. I mean, you were like, I'm the orphan.
Yeah, I was like, fuck you. I'm going to speed run trauma in my 20s.
You're like, I'm orphan prime.
Yeah. It's been a couple of years now since my mom, but it's still pretty fresh. I would say I can't imagine how you feel, but I do know that it doesn't.
I'm sure you can imagine. I mean, I'm sure I'll jump in more than I would usually, but I have questions for you.
Yeah, of course.
Do you want to tell me about your parents? What were they like? Or are, if you prefer that phrasing? I think both are apt. With dead people?
I think if you slip into past tense, that's fine. They were lifelong friends. I mean, lifelong. My dad moved to America when he was like 12, and then they grew up down the block from each other. They were friends. Then one time my dad was talking to my mom outside, and he had his hand on her shoulder. And my grandpa on my mom's side came out and was like, take your hand off my daughter. And he said, one day, Jimmy, I'm going to marry your daughter, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then, I think it was a couple of years before their first date, but they were together ever since.
Fuck Jimmy then.
No, my grandpa was awesome, but a little bit.
Well, like, fuck you a little bit,
My mom was a public school teacher. When I was born, she was doing both hospital work and public school teaching, but she kept missing me and my brother with her night shifts in the hospital. So she switched to full-time public teaching, which she did that up until she retired. And then my dad was a mechanic and a wedding videographer. Some mental illness there though, so he retired pretty young and he was a stay-at-home dad. And it was definitely difficult in the high school and college years when you're trying to rebel against, pretty conservative. My mom was a product of Eisenhower parents. They were really conservative. We butted heads a lot, but over the last 10 years after I'd moved out post-college and stuff, we got on really well. And
how old were you when you lost your parents?
I was 27 when my dad passed, and then my mom passed on his birthday, right before my 29th birthday.
On his birthday?
Yeah, which honestly, at that point, we knew it was happening. And part of me was like, it would kind of be sweet on this day. And selfishly, I really only have to go to the cemetery 3 times a year. 2 birds, 1 stone. But I was 29, so my mom, it was 2 years ago. How long has it been for you?
It's been like about a month. So I'm 28 now. She got sick when I was 22. I was straight out of college. It was depths of COVID when she was diagnosed. But she was probably sick with really smart people, and she was incredibly smart. You can cover Alzheimer's for like a while. She was probably sick for 1.5 years, even before that, which is that hasn't sunk in. That I was 20, 21 when things were starting to slip away. Yeah, it's hard that my whole 20s were affected. But now I'm 28. It's been really fun.
Yeah. Everyone says the 30s are better, and they are, but it's good to get it out of the way, I think. I know I shouldn't be saying that a month in.
I wish you died earlier.
Oh, God. No, not that. There's an arbitrary number to look forward to.
Yeah, the 20s are shit. Even beyond this, they're totally mismarketed. I'm very excited to be in my 30s.
I know 20-year-olds are probably being like oldies and stuff and unk, but the 30s are exactly your 20s, except you have money.
And your brain's developed, and you have a better personality. As bad as my personality is now, it was way worse when I was 21.
Someone's calling me right now.
Oh.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Well, who is it? Is it your mom from Beyond the Grave?
Yeah, hey, Mom. She really wanted to do the podcast.
How was it to lose your parents at that age? What I've been thinking about so much is that it's such a disparate experience from what everyone else is going through at this age.
Yeah, there was so much going on in my 20s, and that's why it was kind of a line for my last couple of years of like speed running trauma in the 20s. There's part of me right now that knows is like, what else can you throw at me? It was a lot. My mom was definitely harder than my dad. My dad had been sick for a lot of my life, but it was still kind of surprising. My dad passed on a Saturday morning, and that week prior, Tuesday and Wednesday, I would lay in bed and I'd close my eyes and I could not sleep because I was at my dad's wake before he passed. I'd watch movies all night. I did not sleep. Thursday, I was fixing up one of my guitars and I couldn't figure something out, so I gave him a call, sent him photos. He sounded great. We had a great conversation, and I slept so well the next 2 nights. And then Saturday morning, I woke up a couple hours earlier than I usually do to a text from my mom that was like, your father's in the hospital, critical condition. Please give me a call. And by the time I called, he had passed. I'm really grateful for the fact that I was able to be there for my mom, who was going through so much. I was out there for 2 weeks, and I think helping me not fully process everything at once was like, my task was to be there for her and make sure he had a week he would have approved of, and making sure everything was right for her to be content with how we did it. I don't really believe in signs or anything, but you'd hear an Elvis song randomly and all of a sudden I'd be like, oh man, like that makes me think of him. That's so nice. I think it was like 8 months later, my mom got diagnosed with cancer, and we were like, all right, like things are going to be okay. Like things didn't seem stressful. And then a couple months later, she started sounding a little more concerned. A month and a half later, I was like, oh, this is way more serious than any of us had imagined. And I think it was a month or two after that, not even 2 months, that she had passed. And that was definitely harder, dealing with some external forces. I was going through a breakup at the time. Like the breakup happened right after my mom passed, dealing with some of the will stuff with family. So I was preoccupied and I was sad and I was grieving and I was crying. But yeah, I was definitely preoccupied. It took a while, like for certain things to happen. I think it was 3 or 4 months after my mom passed, I was combing my hair in the mirror and I noticed how gray I'd gotten and I just broke down. My parents are never going to see me get old. And really, I'm never going to see them get old. And that's still recurring. A month ago, I had a dream. My mom and I and my brother's ex-girlfriend were sitting at a dinner table.
You're like, welcome.
Yeah, I was like, oh, what's up? My mom was really in good spirits and she was talking to us, but she looked old. And in the dream, I'm crying so much. And she was like, oh, don't cry. Like, and and she was having a great conversation with me, but I could not stop. And then I woke up and I was like, I was fucked up for 48 hours. My partner was like, whoa, you all right? You're being real quiet and moody.
I totally relate to that. The one that I've been sort of wrapped up in is that I really want to live to like 80. At least that's 50 years of living without my mother and missing her. That's very daunting. And then the other part that I relate to is that the night before Mother's Day, I had a dream that my mom wasn't dead. She was in prison. And she gets furloughed. And I totally know something's wrong because I'm crying really hard in the dream.
Yeah.
I'm like, Mom, when are you getting out of prison? And she goes 17 to 24 months. And then I woke up. I was like, no, she's dead.
Damn.
Wish she was in prison.
Damn, what'd she do in the dream? Do you know?
It was bribery. And I think it was something to do with varsity blues, bribing my way into college and everything, which is the only reason she would go to prison. But then I woke up. I was like, damn, she's dead.
I had a few months before my first Mother's Day. Did you find the lead up to Mother's Day harder than Mother's Day, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's so recent and I got a lot of texts on Mother's Day. I was like, but every day feels this bad. I love my parents. Those days always feel like Hallmark holidays, but we did spread my mom's ashes on the Saturday before, and that was hard. But honestly, and I'm curious if this has happened to you, honestly, what has been the hardest is when anything happens to the dog. This morning, my dad takes him to doggy daycare, and I call my dad and I'm like, so like, how did it look? He was like, I don't know. Didn't seem great. Started hysterically crying way harder than when I spread my mother's ashes.
Bo's okay though?
He's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine, except for his like slight depression.
Yeah.
But he's totally fine. Even right now, he's tired from his vaccine. I kind of can't handle it. I'm projecting hard. So it's weird things that are making me upset. Mother's Day, I was like, man, this sucks.
I'm with you. Mother's Day is a Hallmark holiday. My mom would always want, if I wasn't seeing her that day, a call at least, or if I was seeing her, a card. But yeah, it was never a big deal. And the first Mother's Day, all week beforehand, I felt awful. And I didn't know why. I didn't realize what was coming up. And then I have a friend, he was free that day. And he's like, I don't know if he did it on purpose or if he just happened to be free that day. And he's like, let's get lunch, come in the city. And I woke up that morning and I felt amazing. And it was so nice to be out. It was a gorgeous day. And it was that day when I was like, oh shit, this is why I'm feeling awful. And then I also learned, don't go to the cemetery on Mother's Day. It took me like an hour to get out of the cemetery. So now I don't go on Mother's Day.
This is why we dumped her in the ocean. By the way, I have to clarify that this is my mom's dog. I'm not just freaking out over some dog.
He's so cute. My dog is 14. It was my mom's dog. And
Fuck, bro.
yeah, it's been 2 years since my mom passed, but like I went away for a month last summer and I told my roommates, I was like, I don't give a shit if the house burns down. Do not bother me on this trip. If anything, if that dog has a wheeze, you let me know and I will be on the first plane back. And I'm going away for a week and now he's really showing his age. And I'm like, my car can explode in the driveway. Figure it out. If that dog sneezes funny, I need to know. I've lost a dog before, but this one feels like a little extra.
Yeah.
Because of it being my mom's dog. And
yeah, this one took care of her. Anyway, that's why my projection has been onto him. Yeah, it's been strange that, not strange. Anything I do is normal. It's grief. But it's been strange that the dog is where all my emotion for my mom versus Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It manifests in such weird ways. I read your Substack. I like you painting it in the world of there's 5 weddings this year and stuff. I like the idea of all of this great stuff happening in your life and being able to kind of weave this horrible, tragic thing happening in funny ways in the story. So I'm excited to continue reading that.
I'm excited to make sense of it that way. So it's month by month. Next month is April. My mom died in April. And it's going to be so funny because that week before she died, she was on her deathbed for a straight up week. It was horribly traumatic. Also one of the straight up funniest week of my entire life.
The week leading up to death is so fucking funny.
It's people being, oh my God, this story was, we had this hospice nurse who was wonderful, who had this huge spider web tattoo on her neck. She comes and sits by my mom in the depths of this week, and she goes, I think it's about 2 days. And my brother raises his hands and he goes, so does that neck tattoo, is it just a neck tattoo or does it extend into a chest piece?
What was the answer?
It extended into a chest piece.
Yeah, that's so sick.
There is no dearth of humor there. It's going to be pretty funny.
Yeah, I posted a piece yesterday, and it stems from I'd been working on a fringe show. So there's a long history.
You told me about this, the one-man show.
Yes.
You're doing it?
So, okay, yes and no. I was making it as a TV series, and I was writing it, and then I hit a wall, and then I had been sending the script out to friends, talking about it, and it became more of a one-man show again. And then I had written probably 45 minutes of material, and I could not figure out how to make it a thing. So that's why I started the Substack, was to be like, just to write bits and pieces of it and figure out where it goes from there.
Is your creative process right now trying to address what you're feeling? Because mine is. Even when it's not first person, like I'm still trying to address it. Or are you trying to explore different things at this point in your life?
I think it's a little bit of both. I'm aware of that happening to myself as I try to process this into a script or whatever it becomes. While I'm working on that, I'm doing all this other creative stuff. We're working on a feature we're going to shoot next year. Scrapper's putting out stuff, and I'm a guitarist for Scrapper, so I'm not really right. I'll help out with lyrics here and there, or I don't do melodies. Sean's a fucking genius with melodies. But yeah, I have outlets that aren't just about my parents' death. And I think as I'm getting older and I'm processing art and doing things and learning, making new experiences and meeting new people, I'm figuring out where that story goes. And I think it's a really strong story right now, the show about my parents and the grief over that. But yeah, I don't know if it's done cooking yet. And I don't mean to sit here and being like 2 years later, you're going to feel not great.
I know I will. I wrote a couple years ago thinking about this, a comedy about a murder at a Shiva. I'm definitely going to rewrite it in some form because it would be so much more fucking funny because now I've seen what I've seen. Is there a dream thing right now that you want to create? Is it this show?
Oh, that's such a great question. Part of me is like, it'd be so nice to get it out of the way. Like, it's been lingering on the back of my mind for so long. It would be a dream to make it either a TV show or do a fringe show of it. But I'm also really content with the songs and our writing process with Scrapper. I also really love the collaborative effort of being in a band. Scrapper it's four of us all putting in our ideas and picking out the best things and challenging each other. And obviously Heat just came out last week, so it's been a huge focus of mine. We have the show next month. You know, after the first show, I might sit down and be like, God damn, I feel great. And then an hour later, I'll be like, my parents weren't at that show. Let me start writing the fringe show again. That was the point of the Substack. I need to start processing this as a piece again and not just kind of like, oh, it's in my notebook over there.
It's also satisfying. Selfishly, it is instant gratification that it's a much shorter piece to get out the same feelings. But honestly, the compliments are not as satisfying. I don't know. I like that it's out there, but I don't really care about the compliments. Maybe I'm just so modest.
You're right. The piece about my mom, I did hear a lot of people being like, thank you so much. It was very nice to hear, and I'm glad. I hope I was able to help in some aspect, but yeah, it didn't do the same thing for me. Maybe if it was a larger piece, I'd feel...
Yeah, maybe if it was more complete, but like, how could it be complete?
No, that's so fascinating. And now I'm going to be sleepless tonight being like, why didn't this do anything for me?
Even for like a negative Nelly like myself, this has taught me that I really believe that people are well-intentioned, even if they're dumb or misguided. So I'm not looking at these compliments being like, you're just doing this because you have to. But yeah, they just don't. In the same way when people are like, sorry about your mom, doesn't satisfy me.
And it's like, you have to say something. I get that. My friend's mom sent me something after my dad had passed that really stuck with me. Oh, this is exactly what I needed to hear right when I needed to hear it. So I kind of just like hold that in my back pocket. And I think it's a little more than like, hey, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss. And maybe the first two are, oh, that's a nice hug. And then by the 60th one, you're like, oh my fucking God, like, shut up.
I'm sorry too. Like, I don't know what to say here.
So Somebody told me that they were like, I wish it was me instead. And it's like, we all do.
At the funeral and the shiva, I was looking around. I was like, "There's some real fucking assholes here. Like, they could have gone. They've overstayed their welcome. Why did it have to be my mom? She wasn't an asshole. So I totally had resentful thoughts.
When somebody's saying like it should have been me, it's like, fuck you. How fucking smug of you.
Oh God, it's like you think I would care.
Yeah. And that's people ask me now, like, oh, if XYZ passed away outside of my dog, I will be sad, sure, for certain people, but it's not, I'll get over it.
What are the best things you've discovered in this time?
It shouldn't be the best thing, but there's a weird like charm to it. My mom, the week before she passed, again, the funniest week. Truly, the week before is so funny. And I'm not being insensitive. It's just how it plays out.
It is the single funniest week
Yeah.
you'll ever have in your life before someone you love dies forever.
And it's so healthy to laugh. Literally like hours before my mom passed, we were crying, laughing and stuff. My mom had a fentanyl patch and she was taking a morphine drip and stuff. And so like every once in a while, she'd say some crazy out of pocket shit. One time she asked me to bring her pineapple juice and I did. And I used her credit card and she goes,
Well, she wouldn't need it.
all right. She goes, you owe me for that. And I was like, how'd she know? And then she goes, you owe me for that. $48,000.
Another great moment was this like first day my dad called my mom's best friend from work who always visited her. He comes into the room and he's crying. And my brother goes, are you crying? My dad goes, yeah, I talked to Bob and whatever. My brother goes, pussy. My aunt goes, yeah, take out your tampon. And the next day, the rabbi comes to give this Jewish last rites. Sings with the voice of an angel besides my mom's bed. My dad thinks this story is so funny. He tells it to the rabbi. My brother goes, really? You had to tell the rabbi I said that? Rabbi goes, yeah, my husband says it all the time. I was like, you're a rabbi. That's not cool.
Whoa. Good for him.
What is different now about your grief that you're a few years into it?
The harder days are definitely fewer and far between. The really bad days are worse now, I think. Not that I look forward to it. I think I'm a little more appreciative of those days. Like maybe the day before Thanksgiving, it's like I didn't want to do anything. And I haven't felt that body depression in a really long time. But that happens once, twice a year now. Excuse me.
I've had many guests burp to that mic. It's fine.
God, my parents would come back and kill me if I did that.
I mean, don't you wish? You kind of miss them, burp into the mic.
In 2024, I had started work probably a week too early afterwards. And that shit was happening once a week. Moving out of my apartment in Brooklyn to my parents' house, which is not the house I grew up in, but it was like back to where I grew up basically. And there's so many different factors to that. There's no time to kind of sit there and really feel better. It was just like pure grief constantly. And I was so tired, so much change in my life. Now I'm like, man, this is a day that I don't want to do anything. I'm going to listen to my body. I'm going to think about my parents in a really lovely way. Maybe watch About Time.
I have a hard time with that. I mean, it hasn't been a while, but even when she was sick, I have a hard time where I'm like, I wasn't productive today. I wasn't productive today before this, but I reassured myself. I was like, all right, Mike's coming over, so I have to be, and I'll feel better. I'm working, such as this fake podcast is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard for me to be like, my body needs this. By the way, my body needed it today. I watched The Boys all day. Great show.
I never finished. I got to season 2 or something.
I love when heads are all chopped off. There's this one soup with the head popping power. She goes like this and heads just explode. It's fucking great.
Beautiful.
It was really comforting in this time of grief.
Yeah, I'm glad you have that.
I'm glad to see someone healthy and listening to their body. I personally am not.
I do need productivity because like literally if I don't, a couple weeks ago, I did nothing for 2.5 days. That half day, I started spiraling. I was like, I need to go do something, or write a song or start working on a script or a Substack thing, or I just fucking leave the house and drive somewhere. I think as you leave this month, like as you get further down the line, you'll be a little more comfortable.
Not being productive.
But also certain people, me, myself included, are just wired to need to be productive.
But yeah, the different things when you're like, this isn't working, can go to this. This is easier in some ways than like really sitting alone and writing. This is fun to talk to people. When she was sick, I had times where I'm like, all right, I literally cannot do this anymore. I had times when I would sit in bed and watch full seasons of TV over days. My job wasn't that busy, so I could do it. And I even still now, I'm like, regret that I had time. I should have done what made me happy. Obviously, my body was telling me I could not physically do that. It would be very hard if something happened like that now, because it would be hard just as it is, but it would be hard in terms of being nice to myself about that.
When the pandemic happened, I had a job I absolutely hated. I was doing like 15 to 16 hour days every day a week. And then the pandemic happened and I was like, whoa, I could lay in bed all day long for probably 2 months. And looking back at it, it's like, oh, this is a kid who's depressed. But yeah, in that moment, I speak relatively highly about the pandemic from a personal point of view, because I was like
one of those people that love the plague.
Yeah.
I was drinking White Claws at 12. It's a pretty cool time.
During that pandemic, I was drinking so much. I was smoking so much. And I think that's why I don't do it that much anymore, because I had that.
You sounded cooler back then, though.
I was so much cooler back then.
So much cooler.
Fucking watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. And
Fuck, yeah, you sound cool. Getting high and watching cartoons as an adult.
Dream life.
It's the dream.
I do want to share that Crying in H Mart story that I shared earlier. Yeah. Great book. Highly recommend. I was on a date. We were talking about family, and she's like, "Are you close with your parents?" And I was like, "Funny
They're
story."
dead. I was.
I used to be. And we were talking, and she's like, "I love reading books." And then she, not in response to me telling her my parents are dead, I just lost my mom. Books. She goes, I read this book, Crying in H Mart. I'm not going to spoil it for you. I highly recommend it. You're going to love it. And I didn't know what it was about. And I went into it blind, and I'm on a vacation. Me and my roommate, we went to Punta Cana together, and we're sitting in the hotel, and I pull out the book. I was laughing on the first page, and then I turn the page, and I start bawling to the point where he goes, "Are you okay?" And then I posted on his Instagram. I forgot who had recommended the book to me. And I was like, "Thank you so much. Who recommended this to me?" And she commented being like, "Oh, that was me. I'm so glad you enjoyed."
Wait, you said thank you?
Well, I needed the book. It was cathartic. And afterwards, I was like, "What the fuck were you thinking?"
You're an idiot.
Crazy.
It's a great book.
Let me know what it's about.
It's a great book.
Great
I read
book.
it like when my mom was sick, and I was like, I can't read this right now.
Take a break, but you should read it.
But that Joan Didion, the Year of Magical Thinking was really good. Something she said in that, which was really tough, but like it is true. She was like, the thing is about John, her husband, she was like, I always try to anticipate what he says, but like I entirely know John. Like you can't read people's minds, right? So you can't climb into their skin. So you don't. It's hard to accept that there is like unknowables. Now that she's dead, of course, there are things that won't be known. But even with all people that you meet, you just have to trust them and spend time with them and love them. I don't know. It was a scary thing that she said.
It was probably a couple months before my dad died. I went upstairs, and my dad was a big computer guy, and I was walking past his computer room, and he goes, "Oh, Mike, come in here." And I come in and I sit down, and he shows me all of the stuff he's illegally downloaded, video games. And he's just like, look at this. And one of them, he's like, "You love the series. Like, it's not even out yet. Like, we got to play it together soon." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." And then out of nowhere, he goes, "One day, all of this is going to be yours." And he had like hard drives stacked up. And he's like, "All of this is going to be yours." And I went, "Come on, Dad, don't talk like that." And he responded with, "You don't understand. I want to go." Crazy thing to say to your son. And I said, why do you want to go? He said, "That's between me and my maker." And I said, "Do you believe in God?" And he said, "No." And I think that's the most I'll ever really understand my dad in a really beautiful sense.
Do you believe in God? No. Who the fuck's your maker?
That's like, I totally understand him on a level I don't think I ever will again. And I'm sure he had a bunch of crazy ass nuggets like that.
Of course. My mom, we were really close. Like I really knew my mom. But when she was diagnosed, we didn't really talk about it. But that is kind of her. She was a carry-on person. That is something that's missing from the story. We didn't really talk about this. But she wasn't highly, so it is within character. She wasn't highly emotional. But yeah, I do think about that a lot. On that really happy note, I want to ask you one more question. Then I will go into fun ones.
This hasn't been fun?
I love talking about my dead mom. What are you talking about?
She's dead?
Oh my god. You know I'm deaf, right? Did I tell you that?
I do know that, yeah.
When my mom was sick, I was telling someone I went to high school with. We hadn't spoken. She goes, "So how are your parents doing? Same old?" And I was like, "No, my mom's quite sick. She's had Alzheimer's for 5 years." And this person goes, "Is it genetic? Does anyone in your family have it?" And I go, "No one in my family has it. That doesn't mean it's not genetic. My deafness is genetic, and no one in my family is deaf." And she mishears me, and she goes, "Your mom went deaf too?" I was like, yeah, that's worse, I guess. What do you want people to know about grief? Is there anything you feel like you've left unsaid?
I think the two big things, and one is cry when you have to, laugh when you can, and know that you are blessed. And I'm not a very religious person, so I don't mean blessed in that sense, but those are the words my friend's mom said to me when my dad passed. And I think about that every single day. And that, honestly, it made crying so much easier. It made laughing so much easier. And that kind of ties into really, like, I think it's really good and okay to laugh. And I think it's good to remember, like, my mom had a really rare cancer that killed her really, really quickly. That in itself is horrible and traumatic, and I wish it never happened. However, when I think back to it, I think about all of the fucking hysterical stories in the hospital, and that warms my heart so much. I think about her laying on her side facing me, forgetting my brother sitting behind her, and then immediately talking shit about my brother, like just on drugs, being like, your brother, and he's like, I'm right here, and like the face she made at me. And of course I remember really sad moments, but yeah, I think a really good part of grief is like, man, I would kill to be sitting in that hospital again. Maybe the worst 2.5 weeks of my life was like, I didn't sleep. I would happily sit there in the hospital room laughing my ass off at the most ridiculous things. Like, so I'm happy to have had those moments. And I think that's really good in grief, is like, fucking have a good time. Have a good time in those moments. The good times are there.
I'm a very lucky person, so I feel that.
Yeah.
I'm a really, really lucky person. I know that intellectually, so hopefully it'll sink in feelings-wise.
I'm really fortunate to have some of the craziest fucking stories from that time, and like the most insane, heartbreaking, hysterical things.
You saw life. I don't know really what I mean by that, but you really saw life. In those really dark times, life gets really strong and really funny and really colorful. Okay. I like to end on a hot seat. On the dead parent theme, do you believe in ghosts?
Not really.
You believe in signs? Like you're sort of feeling it a little bit?
The first day back in Brooklyn after my dad passed, I'd been with my mom for a week and a half. I woke up super early. I was watching TV, playing video games or something. And at 7:36 in the morning, out of nowhere, I heard Elvis Presley blasting outside. I lived on the 15th floor in this apartment. And I look outside and I can't figure out what car it's from. And you know when like a car's playing music and it drives by, the song fades out? The song just cut out of nowhere. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. I didn't think it was a sign. And then I called my mom and I told her this story. And I'm very peculiar with time. So I was like, at 7:36, this happened. And she goes, your dad passed away at 7:36 in the morning. And I was like, whoa, like that's felt like
weird. That's weird. Okay. You're with someone who picks their nose. You're done with them. You want to break up. That's fucking disgusting. Before you can do it, they cheat on you. When you do break up with them, are you breaking up with them because they picked their nose or because they cheated on you?
It's gotta be one.
There's a clear answer here.
Yeah, the cheating.
No, you're breaking up with them because they picked their nose. You already decided.
Yeah, but like in the moment when I'm arguing, you have so much more leeway with the cheating. Like,
do you think people should be allowed on the moon?
No.
I agree. Dream, blunt rotation, dinner, pick 3 people, dead or alive.
It feels really weird to just do a whole podcast about my dead parents and not choose either.
My mom's not on this list.
Yeah, like, I don't want to smoke weed with my parents. I'm going to go David's, Bowie, Lynch. And then my third, I'm going to go alive on this one, and I'm going to choose Jarvis Cocker.
Mine would be Obama, Trump, Taylor Swift.
Okay, so you said Obama. My first thought was lib. You said Trump. I'm confused now.
I am totally lib. If I could meet that man, God, I gotta see what's going on. He's also he's the funniest man in America. That's the most unfortunate thing. I'm like, God, you really are so funny.
Why Taylor Swift?
Just a huge fan. Where in the world, the entire world, is your favorite place to get a drink?
This is not my favorite place. Do you remember us going to Brady's?
All the time.
My partner 2 months ago went out to a bar. She's sober. She did not drink, but she was texting me that I'm having the worst time at this bar, blah, blah, blah. Didn't tell me the name. I hang out with her the next day that night, and she's talking. She has this shit bar on the Upper East Side. And I went, was it Brady's? And she goes, how did you know?
Garbage bar. Fantastic garbage darts, soaked tables.
The floor was so sticky. The owner came up to us at one point. They were terrible bar, Brady's.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Great drink.
Thanks for trying to help me through this time and being nice to me. As you know, we got 2 dead parents, orphan, coming in hot.
Yeah, coming in hot. I'm going to just plug it one more time. Scrapper Band. Follow us on Instagram. The song Heat streaming everywhere now.
What's this Instagram? Just at Scrappers?
At Scrapper Band.
At Scrapper Band. Is there an underscore in there?
Nope, just Scrapper
No
Band.
underscore.
Yeah.
Okay.
No underscore.
Heat at Scrapper Band.
Yeah, that's us.
All right. Hi, thanks for listening. If you're enjoying the podcast, please like and subscribe. It helps me grow my platform. Don't you want to help me? Oh, please help me. New episodes on Thursdays.